Hi there, and welcome back to the FFS podcast. This is episode number 9 of season 1 of the Dressing Room series. Now, to those of you who are joining us here for the first time, the Dressing Room series is basically where we talk to our guests, have a one on one interview with our guests, and talk to them about everything but football. So we're not going to be talking about their favorite team, their favorite players, the matches that happened in the past week. As much as our current guests would love to do that, we're not going to be doing that. Instead, we're going to be looking behind the scenes. We're going to be talking to them about, how we met or how they got introduced to the podcast, or also about their lives. How what they're doing right now. The reason I started this is so that I got to know my guests a little bit more personal. So it just probably helps with the rapport whenever we do a proper podcast on football, and also it probably gives the audience a little glimpse into the lives of our guests, and I suppose also maybe opens up the possibility of the audience having a lot more in common with our guests than just the same football team that you support or stuff like that, right? So for episode number 9, this is the penultimate episode of season 1, and for this we're joined by a very very close friend and a very popular guest, a recurring guest on the football podcast, and his name is Arjun. So Arjun, welcome back to the podcast. It's been a while, I know, but how you doing and what's up?
Yeah, doing good. Thank you for having me for this series. I know we've tried to do it for a long time now.
Yeah.
A few months at least. But finally glad we can get to chat about this, something outside football as well. It's something different, I think, because most of how I knew you and everyone else was also because I think of the WhatsApp group that we have, and it was a bit odd because like when I joined the group, it was because a couple of people. So for those who don't know, we have a WhatsApp group with a lot of guys.
So essentially, this podcast would have only been the WhatsApp group had I not decided to go on Twitter. That's essentially what this podcast would have been like, right? It started off only with the people from the WhatsApp group, and then of course it expanded to what we are right now because I went on Twitter and decided to open up and be a little more extroverted than I'd normally be. But otherwise, if I remained the person that I am, I would have been like, whoever I know on the WhatsApp group, only you're allowed in and no one else. So yeah.
Yeah. So like even getting into the WhatsApp group was interesting because like I'm also quite not introverted per se, but like if there is some common ground, I'll talk about it, right? And what happened was when I was in undergrad, I think there were a couple of people from the WhatsApp group who were there.
Okay.
And so I think there was Kevin, who was a year or two elder than I was, and Ashfaq, who was in my batch.
Okay.
And this was in university in Dubai. So I basically I don't know how I joined the group per se, but I think it was because of the game. There's this game called Soccer Manager, and basically that just allowed everybody to pick their own teams and form squads online virtually, and there would be games like twice a week, and you could just compete and go crazy. So I think this was a craze like I don't know 7-8 years ago. At least.
Roughly. Yeah, I think 10 years. Yeah, at least 7 to 8 years, because I remember I was working my first job, and I remember we had that point where we fixed a particular time where everyone could then go and buy players, and that just so happened to be just after work. So I was like, shit, if I finish work and I travel home, everybody's going to start bidding for the big players and going to buy the big ones, right? So I was like, okay, I told my work that you guys go along. I'll like, they were done for the day. So I said, you guys go. And then I changed the screen to the Soccer Manager thing. And I was like, okay, I'll finish the bidding and then I'll go back home. Anyway, I didn't have to lock up or anything. So I was like, okay, it's still cool. So yeah.
That's some dedication, huh?
Yeah, I mean, because that was, I suppose, the initial year. I think after
Yeah.
that, everyone started getting bored of it. But the initial year, everyone was like gung ho, like
Yeah.
mentally.
Yeah. Do you remember your team?
Yeah. It was me and Naeem who were there. I think Liverpool. And I remember the craziest thing was we knew Mukeet loved Steven Gerrard. So we sold Steven Gerrard and we got two Real Madrid players. I don't remember who it was. I'm sure Naeem will know. But I mean, it was crazy bargains going on left, right, and center. But yeah, it was really fun. We actually scouted certain players who were actually featured in this year's World Cup. So we're like,
Oh,
shit,
nice.
yeah. It's like our player. We've done so well.
Yeah.
But
And that was, I think, a really nice thing as well, right? Because if you play the game, I think, for a long time, you don't need to do anything. You just need to sit back and watch your scouting do its thing. Yeah, I mean, it was a nice game. I think that's how I even got into that game, but also into the
right.
group.
Yeah.
And I think most people on the group were from, I think, millennial school in Dubai, I think. And I was the one person who wasn't. So
Okay.
it is also very different because I didn't really know anyone personally. But I think I knew everybody through like a common sport. And in that group, you just didn't talk about football. It was also about cricket, F1, tennis, whatever was going on. So I think that also gained a lot of common interests. And
Yeah.
but I really don't remember how we decided to do this podcast or why we decided to do this podcast.
Yeah. So no, talking about the WhatsApp group, I think that was the thing. So it started off again. I think Mukeet started the group on Facebook, and it was only meant for millennium people.
Right.
And then, of course, Facebook became Facebook, and it started losing its popularity. And because WhatsApp came into really big deal in the 2010s, early 2010s, 2012s, like that, right? So everyone moved into WhatsApp, and then he created this group. And I think everyone's like, "Oh, I have this friend who likes football, so can I add him?" And the initial decision was no. Let's not. Let's only keep it to people who we know. And I think later on, people were like, let's just get more people in because it was just the same things and then it would be a dead group. So we just wanted people from who like different teams because otherwise 90% were Manchester United fans, right? All
Yeah.
millennium were like 90% Manchester United fans. You have me and a couple of other guys who were Liverpool fans, and then that's about it. So Bassett maybe with the Arsenal fan. But like, so we really had to decide. I think we decided that we let people in, and then the game happened, like you mentioned. And yes, that's how it really got going.
Not big. Yeah.
Yeah, and the podcast thing, I think Prakash, who we've had on this series also before, so he spoke about. So he's the one who reached out saying, we've got so many good ideas and so many good opinions on the WhatsApp group, but it's not being heard by people. It's better. Let's just put a voice to it and do
Yeah.
something about it. So I was like, yeah, okay, sure, cool. And so that's how it sort of started. And then because I moved back to Dubai and he was in Canada, timing differences clashed. And then he got busy with work. So I was like, okay, I'll just make it an audio podcast initially. And that's how it all began. But yeah, it was that group basically brought life to everything that's this podcast is.
Yeah, it's super cool because also like with I don't know how many people are on the group, but like if there are even 20, 30 people who have their own opinions, like even you do the fan thing, right? By saying, oh yeah, this team has won or that team has won. You obviously have a voice to that opinion and everyone can eventually be right. But also when I've heard other podcasts, or even the podcast that I've been on like so far, it's super cool because different people have different opinions on how things work. And right before I came on, I was thinking that, I don't know if you remember this, we did a podcast once which were rating managers in the Premier League and ranking them based on how good they were. And there were different different teams who had fans on, and they were all giving their reasons as to why this player is like A plus, B plus, whatever. And even that came from such a vast like opinion or train of thought, and that had nothing to do with the allegiance that the player or the person supported. It just had how they approach football to begin with. So it's really interesting to also see how different people think about football, and all of these are also obviously correct in their own way. So yeah, it's really cool that you're doing this, man. Like I think it's nice to have a voice just
Yeah.
generally talk about stuff.
Yeah, also, I mean, the whole reason was just because we all like football, so we might as well just talk to people about it rather than type it out. I mean, it does take a long time to type out a really long opinion, so just might as well. Without, I mean, obviously, once you type on the WhatsApp group, obviously, if you type in an opinion, you have people who would, for the sake of making fun, would type something in. But whereas this, you
Yeah,
actually have good conversations with people and
constructive.
constructive
Yeah,
feedback and constructive criticism. Yeah. So that's what. Yeah. All right. So that's how. I mean, I think the first time we actually met was recently in for
yeah,
the Arsenal Liverpool game at Dubai. In Dubai,
yeah.
sorry. Yeah, that was some game.
That is like okay. Forget the game, right? Like the game
Yeah.
was in and of itself, but I think the atmosphere was great that day, and also the fact that like we had planned to meet. I think even the previous time to do a podcast, if I was wrong, but yeah, I mean, I think when I was traveling to Dubai, like it's such
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
short visit that we couldn't. But yeah, I think the game was super fun, and also to like meet after like doing these podcasts for a while was nice.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
uh,
To be fair, apart from the people who were at Millennium, I really don't have I haven't had the opportunity of meeting a lot of people who've come on to the podcast. Even if they're
yeah,
India, they're like in different parts of the world. So it's kind of like shit. Okay, now like who do I meet? When do I meet? Like okay, like let's try and. So I think I met. I mean, you obviously, and then I don't know if you know Alankrit who would come on the podcast.
yeah,
He's a
yeah.
Bayern Munich fan. So I met him also in Bangalore once. So yeah, it's just like now that I'm in India, so trying to see if I get to the opportunity, yeah, try and meet people. But yeah, I don't really get the opportunity. I haven't had the opportunity otherwise. Yeah, you someone have to had to come to Dubai to meet me or
Yeah,
something like that. Yeah.
yeah, like
Uh,
now it's so difficult, right? Like everyone's traveling, everyone's in different parts of the world. Like a little bit stars have to align to
yeah,
happen. And I think even we met, honestly, a huge part was because of the game and the type of game when I was traveling to Dubai.
yeah, yeah.
I think is there a Liverpool bar in Dubai?
There is. There's one. I'm not sure. I forgot where it was. But there is one. There is a Liverpool supporters club, and I forget they had one place, and I think they've shifted their place. But yeah, that. Yeah.
But how was
Then
it being in the away end, so to speak?
it was all right. I've been in worse conditions.
Uh,
Like I've been in the Stoke City Stadium in the Stoke City home end,
yeah,
uh, watching a Stoke City versus Liverpool game, and I've had to not celebrate or not do that. So yeah, I mean, it was a good thing we lost so that I didn't have much to celebrate about. But I think that, yeah, right now I'm at the point where I get excited about when we score goals, but I'm mellowed down so much more. I think if this was like 5 6 years ago, it'd be very, very, no, actually more than that. It would be 10 years ago. It'd been very, very difficult for me to control my emotion. If
yeah,
actually even 6 years ago, I was pretty bad. So it would be very difficult for me to be like calm and composed, even if we scored or if we conceded. Like I'd be swearing left, right, and center. If we conceded, I'd be cheering on like mad if we scored.
yeah,
I remember there's this one point in UK I was watching the City Liverpool 4-3 game, 2018. So I saw the first goal at home on the apartment that I was in. Then we decided to go to the pub and drink and then watch the game as well. And then Liverpool scored. We were up like 3-1, and I was like 4-1, and I was like screaming. I was like, "Yes, come on!" And then we let in like two goals in the space of like 5 minutes, and it was 4-3. And then my head was down because I was like, "Shit! If we lose this game, like everyone's gonna look at me like, what the hell is wrong?
what?
Like this, what an idiot! Like you've been supporting and your team just screwed up." Yeah, this was that Salah initial season, and we stopped
Yeah,
them from being that invincible thing. So I was like, but that 4-3, that last minute, they had a free kick also, which they almost scored. And I'm like, oh, please, please don't do anything stupid. But anyway, yeah, so I've kind of calmed down. I think also winning the Premier League has sort of been like my
vindication.
person. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's just sort of, I've been like, I've seen everything right now. So I'm like, okay,
yeah,
whatever comes right next is bonus. So I'm
yeah,
more calm and composed that way. So that's why I don't have any qualms. If anyone were to invite me even today to the United, there's a United Supporters Club in Chennai. So they call me for the game today. I'd be like, yeah, sure, I don't mind. So even if I lose, even if I win, I'm not that distraught as I
yeah.
would have been. So
No,
yeah,
I can
that's,
imagine. Yeah,
yeah.
but also
Um,
it's like the first time you're like since the time you've supported Liverpool, like you saw them win the Champions League and the league in consecutive years. So I think
yes.
that really also is a calming.
Yeah.
In-
Yeah,
yeah,
I've
right
seen
now
the
I'm
worst.
riding that wave.
I've seen the best. I've seen the worst. I'm like, I know I'm prepared. I'm
Yeah,
well prepared.
yeah,
But yeah, of course you are right now.
yeah.
But no. So let's talk about. So you were in Dubai, and then you decided to move to the Netherlands, and why was that?
Yeah, actually, I also studied in the UK before.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Yeah.
I was in the UK for a year in
Where?
Scotland,
Okay. Where
in
were you
Edinburgh,
studying? Oh, nice.
in
So
Edinburgh
university
University.
of.
Yeah,
Okay. All right.
and I did my engineering there, my master's in engineering there, and then I wanted to, not really move to the US after, but stay within Europe somewhere. And
What's
of
the
course,
reason behind that? Why not the US?
I think like the year I studied was 2017, and that was the year that Trump got elected.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
it was also when a lot of uh, like there was a 200% increase in applications to UK universities that year. So the whole and it was also the first time in a long time that the amount of publications produced in Asia, so in China per se, was higher than the publications produced in the US. So
Okay.
from a career perspective, if I wanted to do research, it just seemed like US was a bit on the downward trend. Of course, that was me with the limited knowledge that I knew back then.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I wanted to just stay in Europe. I felt like life is so much more comfortable. Like a 9 to 5 generally means a 9 to 5 here. It doesn't mean 9 to 12.
Yeah. I know.
Like every time I come back to Dubai, like and I speak to people, like they're so happy because tax free pretty much and they're earning, but they're all quite upset because I don't know anyone who's really happy working there because of the work life balance,
Yeah.
And but that's
Yeah.
just me, okay? This is my opinion. It's not. I'm not to
No,
say
no.
that
Yeah. Yeah.
everyone, but yeah, like, but of course, you earn money tax free. It's a great deal, and also it's home, right? Like in a certain way,
Yeah.
because like if you've studied all your life in Dubai, then yeah, I mean, you
Yeah.
go back in a few months.
Yeah. I think
Uh,
that's the main thing. I think that like anyone who doesn't leave is kind of like it's because it's home rather than anything else.
yeah, yeah, true.
Because in terms of the money that you're getting paid versus what the cost of living and the cost to actually live a
A
lifestyle
good
that we
life, yeah,
probably a good life is not exactly equal as you'd see probably in Europe or somewhere else, right?
yeah, for sure.
So I think they're taking the tax free and the whatever just because I think in terms of comfort, I don't think I've seen any other place that's got the same level of comfort where you can
Yeah,
get the best of both worlds. You get
definitely.
the independence of the West and the dependence on anything that you need. Like you want your someone to come and cook, you want someone to clean, you could get anything from the East. So it's kind of got the
Yeah,
best of both. So you really like shit. If I leave here, it's like if I go to the West, I have to do everything myself, and things
yeah,
shut down.
sure.
Things shut down by whatever 8 o'clock, and what else is there to do apart from going out and doing whatever? Or I go to the east, and where things are not the cheapest. I mean, in the sense that I have to. It's quite a struggle to get anything done. So,
Yeah, definitely. I think Dubai. There's also like it's crazy because I visit once a year or twice a year, and every time I visit, it's a slightly different city. And the last I was there living was 2017 before I left to do my masters, and it's a different city, man. It's
yeah,
not
it
the
is.
city we grew up in,
See,
but they've done
even
an amazing job to make Dubai what it is today.
yeah,
Uh, but yeah, it's crazy. It's incredible. So like the reason why I left Dubai was also I felt like being in engineering and R&D, the market isn't that, you know, mature yet. I think they're
Yeah.
trying to do a lot with the golden visa and all of that in the UAE. But I think still right now Europe and US is kind of the place to be. Um, so yeah, I moved to the Netherlands because the Dutch government did this still have this option where if you get a master's degree from one of the top X universities in the world, you can move to the Netherlands without having a job already with you. So you
Should
can
look
move
at that.
there, and basically in 1 year you need to find a company that can sponsor you.
Okay. All
So
right.
of course that comes with certain caveats, like you don't get a tax break and stuff like that. But I mean, again, it was a good option. So I decided to move to the Netherlands already like 3 and a bit years ago, which
Yeah.
is like time is flying. So yeah, I mean, I really like the country as well. It seems small from the outside, but it's so like it's geographically also small, but it's very diverse because there's so many provinces here, and they have their own dialect and their own like regional culture that's very strong pertaining to the city, pertaining to each province. I also lived in Rotterdam first, and now I moved to Amsterdam. So it's also two very different cities.
Yeah.
Um, it's very very nice to live here. I would not really complain about anything. Of
Mhm.
course, the point that you mentioned about being independent and
Yeah.
not having services is something that you just have to accept. I think early on.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose I think the services part comes at a point where your work-life balance is so off that you really need that, right? If you are to see, if I like, so you were in Edinburgh in 2017, is it?
Yeah,
Yeah, same time as I was.
2017 to 18. So yeah, pretty
Okay.
much the same time when you were there.
Yeah.
Uh,
So yeah, I'm there as well. Like it just like I don't mind doing everything as long as I get time to do it. If I don't have time, that's when I'm like shit. Like
yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
can't.
Yeah, but to be honest, like, were you studying there or were
Yeah,
you just
studying.
okay? Because
Uh,
if you study for a year or 2 years, like that is intense, man. Like I don't
I
think you have the time to do everything when you do an intensive masters. Like at least I didn't.
uh yeah, but I like mine was sort of like a mix of both. I could prepare my own timetable of sorts. So I could schedule my own schedule basically. So I like okay, I'll have everything in the morning, and then my evenings are sort of free, or I'd mix and match. So I was okay to do stuff. I could cook and then I had my like a lot of project work, so I didn't really have to be in class for
Yeah,
long periods of time. So I was predominantly then either traveling within the UK or just at home, and then I could cook, I could do whatever I wanted. So that way, I was it seemed fine, even if it was a 1 year course. It was pretty intense. I'm not gonna lie, like the stuff that you need to do. But I felt like it was intense to a point where it wasn't too much. I could still manage stuff. Uh, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I still had to rely on a lot of Sainsbury, like ready to cook meals. But the fact that at least the weekends are free and you could just do anything you wanted to, I like that part of it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, definitely. But yeah, I mean, like even the fact that you are up to making your own schedule.
Yeah,
Is something that also comes with a bit of responsibility. And I
yeah,
think one of the downsides of being in a very closed space in Dubai is that you're thrown into the deep end a little bit. So
yeah,
even it's not just going there to do your masters; it's also figuring out like life in general and how to prioritize your time. And
yeah.
at least personally, I had no idea of how to do that before.
So
And
I think
it was
I
also,
think the good part of it was before that I was in India. I did my undergrad in India, and I did 4 years of work in India. So in the 4 years, I was staying with my cousin, but we had to manage the house properly. We had to get the guy, we had to do all of that stuff, and I on a hybrid system then back then. Like so, it was like this hybrid system really wouldn't have affected me, but yeah, it was like I was working from home few days, I'd go to office few days. So I learned how to prioritize, and you kind of learn how to,
yeah, Of course,
make
of course.
yeah.
You need to experience that once at some point in your life to do it. And
Yeah.
at least for me, it was all at once during that 1 year in Edinburgh. So that then I felt like, okay, I can do this. So let's move to the Netherlands and figure it out.
Yeah, if you gone directly, I can understand. Like from a Dubai sheltered life to thrown into the Edinburgh life, it'd been like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And like honestly, now I have some colleagues who have come exactly like what you've said, right? Like from India, or like they've not left their city and then moved
Yeah.
to the Netherlands directly. And you can see the culture shock, man. You can see the culture shock, and it's a lot to take. And I mean, you have to. I mean, I'm glad that they have some sort of a support system to basically negate those effects, like a little bit. But I mean, I'm glad that I was able to get that experience somewhere before I, decided
But
to move.
also, I think Dubai, to move from Dubai to Netherlands or the UK isn't that much of a culture shock. I think in terms of we've already used to that multicultural lifestyle of, we can deal with it, people, and we know how the things work and all of that. But like, if you move from India to UK, it's like,
More.
it's a bit more. It is a bit more. So yeah.
The thing is, you get so used to having the convenience factor. I mean, for people who have it already in India, they get really used to it. And I think for that is a huge change. The fact that you don't have it. I think one of the things is just to accept that, this is how life is in this country, and to live that way.
Exactly.
And it's a learning experience, right? Like for everyone.
I'm going to flip it around. So when I moved here in Jan, right? Like after four years of being in Dubai, okay, to get things done here, right? If I call up someone, say, I need this to be done, they say, okay. I take their okay as to mean, yes, they'll get it done at this date. But no, right? I have to make 3 other follow-up calls to be like, no, I need it like now. Yeah. So the yes here and versus the yes somewhere else, it, like the first month to set up this entire apartment was like a pain, because it meant like I had to call up everyone every time to find out what's happening, because there it's been like everywhere it's recorded or it's in some database already, right? So say for example, I call up someone and they'll be like, I need this part, and they're like, I'll take 15 days. So I know I'm guaranteed 15 days later I will get the call saying, your part has come, we'll come and fix it for you. But here I have to call on the 15th day and the 16th day and the 17th day to try and be like, has it come?
What's the update?
So it also flips the other way around. Like once you are used to that sort of country, or like in the Netherlands or the UK, but people's word is promise.
It's
right?
solid.
So it's solid. So it's that's another shock. But so what else? How's life been? I don't know if you want to bring this up, but congratulations on this podcast. So why the decision, and how's it going to be now? The next, I don't know, whenever the date is, if it's fixed or not, but.
So I mean, for those who don't know, I think I got engaged last month, and like I again took this decision because I knew her like since childhood. Actually, we both grew up in Dubai and stuff, and she also moved to the Netherlands a few years ago. We started dating, we lived together, and we felt like this was a natural next step. So we got engaged, and like I feel like it's interesting because so many people have asked, like, when are you guys getting married and stuff like this. No idea, man. No idea.
Oh, that's fine. That's perfectly fine. That's how it should be.
No pressure on. Because also here in Europe, right? Like again, I'm bringing the Europe thing back because here you don't need to be married to live together. You don't like legally, right? You don't need to be married to live together or open a bank account together or anything like. In India, you do. So I understand the reason why the question comes. But I mean, take it as it comes in a year or two. Let's see. So. It is what it is.
But were you excited, nervous when you were getting ready to pop the question?
Incredibly nervous. So it was actually excited as well, because when you actually go down on one knee, you don't you can't have anything prepared. Like you can't have a speech prepared. You can't have anything prepared because you don't remember the words that you want to say or anything. And she keeps saying that, yeah, I didn't even ask her. I'm like, I did. You were too much in a blur to listen. Stuff like this. But yeah. It was nice. I even recorded everything. So yeah. So yeah, no, it was a very good moment, and I think after that we went celebrated with a few friends as well here. So it was a nice vibe. I think this is the first time I'm actually flying to Dubai in a few weeks, so it'll be the first time that we both meet parents after we got engaged.
Nice.
So it'll again be a nice celebration in Dubai.
Yeah, definitely. I think
So yeah, very
yeah,
excited, very happy, a lot happening. So that's also one of the reasons I wasn't like I wasn't too available to do a podcast and
no,
stuff.
yeah. I mean, I think the last time I asked you, to be fair, was in December when I was actually free. Since then, I've not been free. I've been traveling in India. Then I moved to Chennai for a job, and since then it's just been hectic to get things sorted out.
How's the new job going?
It's all right. Uh, it's I mean it's I suppose a huge shift from being doing the podcast full time to actually going to office every day. Even in my previous job, I've never been to the office 5 times a week every day, like every day,
Yeah.
right? I think in my
Yeah.
when I was in my old job, of the 4 years that I was working, only twice had I been to the office 5 times a week, 5 times in a week, right? So yeah, it's getting used to. The weather is the biggest thing, man. Fucking humidity is like killing everyone.
Yeah.
Summer's also upon us, so yeah, it's all right. Just still settling in. I just probably this was the first weekend where I didn't have anyone coming in for repair work in the apartment.
Nice.
So yeah, hopefully I've got a few friends as well, like a couple of from Warwick, one from Warwick. I've got a few cousins, so that way I know I can keep myself busy over the weekends. Any of the weeks are, you know how the timings here are for work, right? It's not a 9 to 5, so yeah. By the time
in reality, it's not a 9 to 5. Yeah, more often than not.
yeah, but I don't think even if on paper it was written as a 9 to 5, so I'm not gonna hold them to it. So yeah, it's kind of little longer hours. So I come back home pretty tired by then, just eat, go sleep, wake up the next day. So weeks have been going okay. I mean, the weekdays have been going pretty fast right now. So I've been, my only thing was like, how do I spend the weekends? And I've managed to, there are, at least Chennai right now has grown to a city where there are a lot of restaurants and bars and all of that. So yeah, at least let's see.
It's nice to have a circle, and also, I'm sure it's not easy to, I mean, I think it's easier to move to a new city in your 20s or your early 30s than it would be in your late 30s or early 40s.
Yeah,
I think when you have the flexibility to do that, it's.
I suppose so, but I still, you know, there is a lot of pains to go through it. But yeah, I'm able to manage that, which I suppose later on I would have just pulled my hair if I was like probably 10 years older. I would have been like, screw this shit. I'm not dealing with this. Yeah.
I mean, like it's this thing, right? Like, because my parents are still in Dubai, and for them, they don't want to switch anywhere because they've been living there for so many years, and it's convenient for them. They have their own circle.
Yeah,
so.
I asked my parents as well, like, where would you like to retire? Like, where would you? It's like, they're like, I don't know. You go somewhere. Maybe we'll follow you wherever you go. But like they know that it's very difficult otherwise. They'll manage, but they know like if they have to leave the bar, it's going to be a huge shift. Yeah. So they're trying to extend it as much as possible. So yeah. But yeah, I mean, it was really nice chatting with you. I know it's a really short talk, but good to catch up after so long, and hopefully we can catch up in real life. Hopefully if we meet up in Dubai or if I'm traveling anywhere else, we catch up. And yeah, otherwise, hopefully once I'm settled in, the podcast starts again, we'll try and catch up again. I know we need to do something before you guys win stuff. So
no. Game by game.
Yeah, of course.
I can't
But
say anything
yeah,
on record until then.
correct. But yeah, until then, and thanks for coming on here and giving talking about all of this. Can't wait to
Oh,
catch up
thanks for
soon.
having me, and like good luck settling in, man.
Yeah.
Once things are settled, we should do a podcast for sure. And
Yeah. This
talk
was
about
actually the first podcast that I was like, I need to, because I can't be like not doing it. So I was like, at least this weekend I need to try and start
yeah.
something. So I wanted to get this series over with, and then we'll think about what needs to be done for the other one. But yeah,
Cool.
thank you to
Nice,
those
man.
of you who are listening to this particular episode. This is episode number 9, the penultimate episode of season 1 of the Dressing Room series. I hope you enjoyed yourselves. I hope you've taken away something from this podcast, or if you sort of resonate with what we've said, you let us know in the comments down below. Let us know on Twitter, Instagram. You can follow us on any of these social media platforms, on YouTube as well. Check out the YouTube channel, and I'll catch you all on the next final episode of the Dressing Room series. But that's about it for episode 9 of season 1 of the Dressing Room series, of TDR. I'm your host, Praddy, once again. You stay safe and see you.